We've seen rap beef starting over business issues, beat biting, and various other matters, but you know what else causes it? Trying to get publicity. New York started hip-hop, so obviously it should stay in the limelight, right? Well, some people seem to think so back then at least. What do you do when you see a city with new and upcoming rappers getting attention? Diss them, of course. This is Tim Dog versus Compton. I've mentioned him in previous videos briefly as he was dissed alongside other artists in the midst of other beefs going on as well. Now we're going to delve a bit deeper specifically into Tim Dog and his beef with Compton. For those that don't know, this is the guy who pretty much set off the whole East Coast versus West Coast beef that was so hyped up in the media in the mid-90s. From the late 80s into the early 90s, hip-hop was becoming more commercially prominent in the West Coast, specifically California. Between artists like DJ Quick, Compton's Most Wanted, and N.W.A, there were a lot of artists in particular representing Compton, a city that's a part of LA County. By 1991, these artists had all received some critical acclaim and success with their debut albums, and New York hip-hop was still big, but no longer the only area shining. Fed up with all this attention they were getting, Tim Dog released his debut studio album, Penicillin on Wax, in November 1991. On it were multiple songs taking shots at Compton artists like DJ Quick and N.W.A in particular. The intro of the album is essentially a skit dissing N.W.A, talking about them over the beat from the intro of Niggas for Life, their second album, which was released earlier that year. Apparently a lawsuit was filed against Tim Dog's record label for using N.W.A's beat, and they settled out of court, and on the next pressing of the album, they removed the N.W.A sample and used a different beat for the intro. The biggest song regarding this beef, however, was the first single from the album, F Compton, which released earlier in the year and focused on dissing N.W.A and Michelet. This is a relatively underrated diss track considering that it basically started the whole beef. Tim Dog takes shots at pretty much everything the West Coast is stereotypically known for, like wearing shades, having jerry curls, and the whole Bloods vs. Crips gang situation. He disses Dr. Dre here for the D. Barnes incident, and he even claims to have had sex with Michelet, Dr. Dre's girlfriend at the time, and a fellow artist on Ruthless Records. He also takes a shot at Ice Cube as well as Eazy-E, but specifically states that he has no issues with Ice-T, who was another famous West Coast rapper at the time, also from the LA area. The song was no lyrical masterpiece or anything, but as a diss track, I do enjoy it, and found it to be a bit humorous at times, especially when he mimicked Michelet's speaking voice. On the skits DJ Quick Beatdown and Michelet Conversation, he makes mention of the artist in the titles. On the former, he spots DJ Quick and delivers a beating to him, as the title says. And on the latter, he has a phone conversation with someone acting as Michelet who tells him she's not happy with what he said about her on F Compton, but he informs her that he was dissing Dre because of the D. Barnes incident and that she was only mentioned to further diss Dre. On the second single from the album, Step to Me, he takes plenty of opportunities to once again diss Eazy, Dre, Ren, and DJ Quick. Oddly enough, he's actually in support of Ice Cube here despite having dissed him on the previous single. I guess at this point, since N.W.A and Ice Cube were now dissing one another, he decided to side with Ice Cube in an attempt to diss N.W.A even further. It's another good diss, though not quite as hard or talked about as F Compton. One of the later songs on the album, Going Wild in the P Now, also contains a diss to Compton as well. On the intro of the song, Tim Dog mentions going to prison for killing a kid from Compton. Clearly a reference to all the disses he's made to Compton artists earlier on the album. Tim dedicated a decent portion of his debut album to dissing Compton, which is something I have never seen an artist do before. According to an interview by Ced-Gee, who produced several tracks on the album, including F Compton, an executive from Sony told him that if Tim Dog dissed the West Coast, it would help Tim get a record deal, so they did it. Kool Keith in an interview would say something similar, that Tim Dog basically did it for the money, and it wasn't a serious beef, but more of a competitive and publicity kind of thing, as Tim Dog had even lived on the West Coast for a while around that time period. They reworked a beat from one of the Ultramagnetic MC's early hit songs, A Chorus Line, which also served as the introduction to Tim Dog. He also reused some of the lines from his verse on A Chorus Line in F Compton. The track set off a wave of diss tracks in retaliation from Compton and the LA area overall. The year of 1992 was definitely not the year of the dog, as Compton struck back hard. Let's start with the most famous of the responses. As I've mentioned in the video regarding the N.W.A beef, F with Dre Day from the Chronic album was a diss track aimed at Eazy-E, Uncle Luke, and Tim Dog. The second verse, which is Snoop Dogg's, was aimed at Tim Dog. I guess it makes sense to have the dog go after the other dog, I suppose. This is the most recognized diss to Tim Dog from the West, and also the one he would respond to later on. However, it's not even the only song that Dre and crew dissed him on. They were clearly offended by F. Compton, and I don't blame them. On the skit, the $20 Sack Pyramid from the Chronic album, they dissed Tim Dog quite hilariously as well. Also on the song Puffin' on Blunt and N.W.A, the B-side to the Dre Day single, Dre sends a shot at Tim Dog in the intro alongside Eazy-E and Uncle Luke. If that wasn't enough already, as I mentioned in the DJ Quick vs. MC8 and Compton's Most Wanted beef video, they dissed Tim Dog as well because of F. Compton. It's funny that these two both took time away from their own beef to return verbal fire at Tim Dog. On Quick's second album, Way Too Funky, he came at Tim Dog on the title track with various lines mentioning the Bronx, as well as an altercation at the music conference Jack the Rapper, where Tim Dog was threatened over the beef and apologized and admitted that he was only dissing Compton in order to get paid. He came at Tim again on the last track of the album, The Last Word, which was a track shouting out various artists, but also another opportunity to diss Tim Dog. Compton's Most Wanted dissed him on their third album, Music to Drive By, on the songs Who's Fucking Who and Another Victim. Another Victim has multiple subliminal shots, but the second verse mentions someone from way over there, as well as someone saying F. Compton, which are pretty obviously references to Tim Dog. He then mentions a Timmy, which we can assume is directed at Tim Dog as well. Decent disses overall, and it continues to go on from here with other artists. Tweety Bird Loc on his first album, 187 Ride By, dissed Tim Dog on the songs Fuck the South Bronx and What's Really Going On. I like how Tweety specified the South Bronx, while Tim Dog mentioned Compton in general. Then again, you could say that probably comes from the Boogie Down Production song South Bronx, where KRS-One dissed the Juice Crew, as one of the rappers featured on F the South Bronx also disses KRS-One, which is just random to me as KRS-One had nothing to do with dissing Compton. Stray shots and all that, I guess. F the South Bronx, or South Bronx Can't Touch Compton as it's also known as, is a scathing diss track towards the South Bronx and contains plenty of shots at Tim Dog. Another favorite diss track of mine is just so direct, no subliminals, just hardcore lyrics. The other track, What's Really Going On, is a diss aimed mostly at Ruthless Records, especially Eazy-E, MC Ren, and Dre. But while doing so, Tweety shouts out Tim Dog for dissing N.W.A, but then disses him for dissing Compton as a whole, and once again takes shots at the South Bronx and even Boogie Down Productions member D-Nice. Once again, more stray shots. Unfortunately, Tweety Bird Loc passed away in April of 2020, reportedly from a heart attack at the age of 52. As I said, however, the disses continue. Also in 1992, the group EL, Me and the Street Products released a self-titled track from their album 16 Lessons from the Street, where they dissed Tim Dog for dissing Compton and also made mention of him on the outro of the album titled Outshout. The next year, in 1993, the group Rodney-O and Joe Cooley released the album F New York. I guess they decided to take it a whole step further with that title. It includes the song But You Don't Hear Me Though, which took shots at multiple artists, including Tim Dog on the last verse, making mention to New Yorkers, and one in particular dissing Compton. This would about do it for the barrage of shots aimed at Tim Dog in response to F. Compton. A little later in 1994, Tim Dog responded to Dre and Snoop with the EP Bitch with a Perm, featuring the title track as well as the song Dog Baby. I find the title track pretty dang funny, honestly. It's not as hard a comeback as his first song F. Compton was, though. The title track features at least two different versions with a different beat and slightly different lyrics, but still is a diss towards the two. These songs recycle a bunch of flows and lines from the Chronic songs and turn them into funny jabs poking back at Dre and Snoop, which honestly I found to be quite enjoyable as I do tend to like parodies. However, if you're looking for anything new or amazing lyrically, you won't really find that here. Even the beats sound similar to a West Coast style, most likely done on purpose as well. The beef would be done now for the most part as far as Tim Dog goes. The so-called East Coast versus West Coast beef continued on though, as we probably all know, between Bad Boy Records and Death Row Records for a little while. Tim Dog went on to release more solo albums, as well as continuing to work with the Ultramagnetic MCs, and released a collaboration album with Kool Keith, the founder of the group. Tim Dog would unfortunately pass away, however, in February 2013. Oddly enough, it was rumored that he had faked his death at first to avoid having to pay money regarding legal trouble he had gotten himself into recently. According to an interview by Ced-Gee, Tim was known to be a bit of a schemer who would always be doing something to get paid, and even implied that Tim Dog might still be alive. However, it was confirmed the next year in 2014 that his death was indeed fact. As usual, another rapper was taken too early from us, but let us not forget that he was another South Bronx rapper who caused a stir in hip-hop for a few years that would spiral into one of the biggest media situations of the time regarding the culture. That's it for this episode of the Rap Beef series. Head to the comment section below and share what your favorite track on this beef is, and what you think about the artists involved, and what beef you'd like me to cover next, or what other hip-hop related content you're interested in seeing. I was thinking about covering some current events in hip-hop as well to go along with the videos talking about its history. As always, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to click that like button, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.